always get started on time, no matter who's here. Okay, if you could please stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you would, please, after the Pledge of Allegiance, maybe just a couple of moments of silence, kind of in memorandum of what happened on September 11th, 2001. So please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Myself, I started out this morning, AJ was there as well, and I just wanted to offer this to all of you. In years to come, at every fire station in the county, at 6:42 in the morning, when the tragedy struck in New York, there was a ceremony where they raise the flag, lower the flag, and there's an announcement over the fire apparatus radios. If any of you can get up early some morning in the next few years, you might want to check that out. And I will tell you, the firefighters greatly appreciate it for you to be there and share that moment with them. I'm glad I went this morning, and I just offer that to you that maybe in the future. And thank you for taking that moment just now. Just a couple of things. Now is the time at the beginning of the meeting where we do introduction of guests. Anybody that doesn't have a little name tag hanging around them, if they'd like to stand and introduce themselves, we'd appreciate it. You don't have to. We know where you are if you don't, but feel free. We welcome you. Anybody?
Gus Sanchez, Operational Manager of Public Services, born and raised in Oxnard Community.
Welcome, guys.
I'll introduce myself. I was going to do it a little later, but that's okay. My name is Jim Ambroso. I'm also a manager with Republic Services. I try to keep an eye on Gus. Wow. So I'm real pleased to be here tonight with all of you.
Welcome. Anybody else who wants to introduce themselves? Okay. The agenda's on the table for club members. Is there anybody that wants to add anything or to take anything away from the agenda? If you take anything away, there won't be anything left, but there is room to add stuff. So if anybody wants to add anything, now's the time to do it. Seeing none, we'll move right ahead then to announcements from the chair. I just have a few announcements. Last month I was sick. I want to thank Francine, our first vice president, for standing in and running the meeting. I had good reports that she did a good job, so thank you very much for that, Francine. Also, the county fair. Some of you volunteered to spend time at the county fair. Appreciate your volunteer time there. It's very helpful. We had a report back at the Central Committee meeting last month, and I think the Oxnard Day was the third highest for voter registration, so we did a really good job on registering voters. And I have a couple announcements on the back table. I'm making some of these early because a lot of people leave at the break time, but I want to announce a town hall meeting that's being put on by the County of Ventura. There's a notice back there, and it's in regards to a nuclear accident preparedness. And so it's a topic that has been discussed many times, whether it's an accidental or a deliberate release. It is something that emergency managers have to plan for. Dr. Levin is making a presentation and breaking out the county's plan to let the public know what they can do to be safe if something like that happens. So that's on the back table back there. There's also some other flyers back there. I wanted to mention one other thing. I don't know in the past if any of you have participated, probably some of you have, but I don't know what you call it, mushroom factory or mushroom plant in Ventura on Olivas Park Road. There's been, over the years, many labor disputes there. We've helped march with the United Farm Workers, trying to obtain contracts and working conditions. The mushroom plant shut down on Labor Day. They didn't tell anybody, they just shut down. The bank that's in charge of it right now just pulled the plug. They didn't close the business, they just laid people off. Maybe 50% of those people can continue with some health benefits and stuff, but a lot of them are really hurting right now. The United Farm Workers office on A Street, South A Street, they're accepting donations of food, so if anybody wants to do anything like that to help with those workers, please drop something off at the United Farm Workers office on A Street. And the last thing I want to do with my President's remarks, while there's a full crowd, is we're doing a fundraiser this month. Actually, we're doing a fundraiser now. This is the first time that we received remittance envelopes, and so I'm just going to hand them here and pass them out, and if anybody feels like you'd like to make a donation to the Good Club, just pass those along, please. Feel free to do that. We'd appreciate it. That's cuts down on a lot of the overhead on fundraisers, but we are planning on some in the future. So, with that, I'll make that report right now too. Thank you. One more, Banana Festival at Port of Hueneme, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., September 28th. I don't know if any of you attended before. It was first one was a success, right? Lots of people went. So have a good time at the Banana Festival and support the port. With that, I'll turn it over to our first Vice President, Francine, to run the program for tonight.
Good evening. Thank everyone for coming. We were going to talk more water, but trash became a hot thing right now. That thing says fun, like hot trash in the summer. Delicious. And we have Republic Services, who is our current MERV provider. And we also have Tim Flynn, our mayor, and a Good Club member, who are here to present their business plans for future of the MERV. As you know, the contract is up, and many of our Good Club members are there week after week at the meetings, hearing the presentations, being part of the discussion, being part of the engagement. So I thought it'd be a nice to bring them here so we can ask questions, have an open forum, and just kind of put it in the street so that way we know which direction we're going to go from here on out. So without further ado, and I got the screen over, this is Jim from Republic Services, and he will tell you a little bit more about himself while I move the screen over.
Thank you, Francine, and thank you, Good Club members, for inviting us tonight to be a part of this. Try not to trip over anything here if I can. When Gus told me that we were invited to the Good Club tonight, I was a little nervous about where he was going to take me. I was not knowing what the Good Club's all about, and I didn't know if he had something else in mind for me. Anyway, I'm pleased to see all of you in this setting. Let me say it that way. My name is Jim Ambrosio. I'm one of the senior area managers for Republic Services in Southern California. I reside down in San Diego, but I have been, in my past life here, an area manager for Republic Services, covering all of Southern California, from Santa Barbara to San Bernardino to San Diego. So I spent a lot of time up in this neck of the woods, and I enjoy this very much. In fact, last week I was hanging around in town. It was 80 degrees here. It was beautiful. Drove up to LA, and it was 108 degrees in downtown LA, and I thought this is the place to be, right here. So I'm sure many of you are here because of that. It's a great place to live. Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you're here tonight. Pleasure to meet you, and to have you here for this discussion. Gus Sanchez, many of you know Gus. He's been in the community his whole life here, and I really enjoyed working with Gus and getting to know him a little better. He's probably going to correct me tonight on a lot of things that I'll talk about. So if he interrupts over there or gets a little out of hand, somebody hit him or slap him. Tonight what I want to do is take a few minutes to go through who we are as Republic Services. Many of you know a little bit about us. Some of you know a lot about us. But I want to just give you a broader picture of what Republic Services is as a national company. Talk a bit about who we are in this community and what we've been doing in this community, and what we have had the privilege of operating the city's transfer station, the waste transfer station here for a number of years. We don't take that lightly. This is an honor to do this, and we are proud to be involved in this community and have the privilege of running the facility. Something that we would love to be able to continue doing if the city fathers and our city council would consider that. As far as the facility, I wanted to brief you on that a little bit. Many of you probably know where it is, here on the east side of town, off of Del Norte. It's a waste transfer station, but it's also a recycling facility. And many of you probably know your trash gets picked up every week and it's gone, and you may not know what happens after that. But this is a great asset that the city has here. There's not many facilities like it, frankly. I've been in this business now over 30 years. I know it doesn't look like that, but it's true. And I have seen operations all over the country. There are not many like what you have here. And that's what excites us most about being involved in Del Norte and being involved here with this community. You have a great asset, a tremendous asset. And I know the city fathers know that. And I'm here tonight to tell you that we, Republic Services, want to help you make the most of that operation, make the most of that asset, and turn it into something that can even be better than what it is today. Some of you know the history that we came to town here many years ago, actually, and acquired a company called BLT. Call it what you may, it may have been a good acquisition, a bad acquisition, but there were some things with that acquisition that didn't go quite so well. That's the past. We're trying to move forward. We have operated this facility. We've made improvements to the facility. We've invested money in this facility. It's owned by the city, as you know. We operate it, and we have tried to be a good partner for the city to keep it going, to keep it current, and to help make it work well for the citizens of this community. It's a large facility. It takes in 1,000 tons a day of material, which may not mean much to many of you, but that's a lot. A lot of trucks bring their trash there. We not just handle the trash, but we handle the recycling, the curbside recycling that all of you set out. We process all that over lines, sort lines to remove the recyclables, and we sell those off to markets in China and overseas to recover the value of those materials. We also recover green waste. A lot of green waste is generated in this community, so we process that and have it beneficially reused, turned into compost, where it could be returned to the soil. We also recover wood waste, electronic waste, bulky waste, which is a big word for refrigerators and stoves and the kind of things that are hard to get rid of. We take those and we recycle those materials. The metal, as many things as we can recover, we do. But you need to know something. The facility we have here, as good as it is, and as beautiful as it is, it's old. The equipment inside was purchased by the city quite a few years ago. It's very old. It needs to be replaced. It's going to require a big investment. I'm here to talk a little bit about that tonight. So that's a little bit about the facility. We also have 52 employees there. Over 90% of the employees live here in Oxnard. It's a great place to have a job. And one thing about waste companies, many of you probably figured this out already. Trash is here. Recycling is here every day. Those jobs are here every day. Some businesses come and become obsolete and they go away. Or we have jobs that are seasonal. Trash is every day. So we have good, solid jobs for our employees, good opportunity for them to work and to have a career with Republic Services. Our contract that we currently have expires the end of January 2014. So it's coming up fairly soon. And our city council has to make some decisions on which way they want to go. A little over a month ago, they did make a decision to evaluate and move forward possibly with the public employees taking over the operation. That would mean that we would lose the contract and the public employees would take over and operate the facility. I'm going to talk a little bit about what may happen as a result of that. These slides may not show up real well, but we'll give it a shot here. And this isn't going to work so well. We'll try to move it forward, maybe. Maybe. We can actually take this.
There you go. More.
Now we're left out, we're left out. You have to turn it toward the audience.
Yeah.
Turn it a little toward
I
the
can come
audience.
that
Turn
way.
it over this way. That's it.
Yeah, that was it. Tech people, you 12-year-olds in the audience? AJ?
AJ.
Yeah, you might want to just notify yourself.
More footage.
There's no app for that, I'm sorry. There was an operator error, sorry about that.
That's true.
Well, it's good now.
We just want to put the screen behind where he's standing and then put the thing facing that way.
I don't know if you folks want to move or take a second and try to move over here, you okay? All right. I'll try to help you with that. So, if I could continue, the key question before our council is to, what should the city of Oxnard, continue in their partnership with Republic Services? We think there's several key reasons why we should. As I mentioned earlier, we are a national company. In fact, we're the second largest waste service provider in the United States. We operate in over 40 states right now. We operate both collection companies, landfills, transfer stations, recycling facilities, organic waste processing facilities. We're kind of into all of the waste services that are out there. It's noted on the screen that we have 71 recycling facilities that we own and operate today. 70 more than what we have right here in Oxnard. Now, that's significant because by owning 70 facilities, we have a lot of people involved in recycling material every day. We have a lot of expertise. We learn in every one of those operations, we're learning something new. The equipment that we use today is amazing. I've had the privilege of being around recycling plants many years ago, 25 years ago. All they consisted of is a sort line. We had sort lines where employees stood on the line, recycling came over the line, and they just picked out the good stuff. The aluminum cans, the bottles, cardboard. Today, they are fully automated systems. We own and operate some of the biggest operations in the country. I'll show you a couple pictures of them here in a second. Recycling has changed. It's much more complex. It's much more capital intensive. But it's because we've turned these things into, forgive the word, but garbage factories, okay? And it's really a commodity factory. Think of a factory. If you've gone into one of the produce folks here today, or gone into some kind of factory, they make widgets. They have raw materials, they have it over process lines, they have equipment that makes things out of it, right? Well, that's what we do with the trash now today. We take something that we all throw away as mixed material. Some of you do a good job of sorting your waste at home, but many people in this country don't do a very good job. And so we take that mixed bag of material and we have to undo it. Very difficult to get the good stuff out. But the machinery and the technology has improved significantly. And today we have equipment that can remove on a recycling bin, okay, a cart where you put all your recyclables in, we can recover 98% of that material now. The equipment has gotten so much better, but it's very expensive. It's very expensive, complex to operate, it's run by computers, a lot of technical stuff going on, a lot of maintenance involved. So it's definitely the future, but it's going to require significant investment to get there. We have many of these facilities, we've tested the equipment, we know it works, we know it doesn't work. We learn what to expect from those things. We've learned how to manage the commodities. Imagine pulling all these commodities off, bales of cardboard, paper, and go to the market and try to sell that. Okay, it's a very competitive market out there. Most of the stuff is bought by China. All of our commodities go over to China. They bring boats of trinkets over here, computers mostly, tablets, things that we all buy. And those boats are empty and they want to load them up and haul stuff back. And so they take our cardboard, our metal, they take our plastics, all that goes back to China. You got to know what you're doing when you're dealing with those folks. You got to understand how they price things and how to compete. We have teams of now commodity experts in our organization that are constantly monitoring these things, negotiating contracts. Those prices, if anybody follows commodities, they're up and they're down significantly. That can present a lot of financial risk to us and anyone who owns one of these facilities. We are fortunate that we have all these 70 facilities because now what we've done is we've negotiate contracts where we have high and low ceilings. So we can buffer ourselves against some of those big swings. Just a little over a year ago, the markets went way down. People in the recycling business were really scared because they had to store bales of material, try to hold it if they could, or sell it at a very big loss. We were able to have that floor in our contracts so we could continue to move material along. I don't know if any of you heard about the China curtain, but this is interesting. China has been buying all this material for years. Recently, they decided they didn't want to be buying any more trash because some of the bales and material going over to China have a lot of trash in it. So they said, if anything is contaminated, we're not taking it. And they made the producer, the recycling facility here in America, pay to ship it all back here. Very, very expensive. So we are very careful. We inspect our loads, all our bales, make sure that they're of quality, that can be shipped out, and we don't have a pile up here. Mixed trash is very difficult to undo, as I mentioned. Republic, besides being a large national company with great resources and financial capability, we're a local company here too. We've been here since 1999, came here through the acquisition of the contract, and we have committed ourselves to be a strong community partner, a solid operator of the facility, but a company that is integrated into this community in ways that I've never seen. As I've gotten to know Gus and know our employees here, I'm amazed at how much they have been involved in this community. And you see them out there all the time. Not only involved in donating to different causes, but personally involved, doing a lot of things to educate the community about recycling, educate the community about what we can do to be better stewards of our resources, and also to help in many tangible ways. We're a local company and very much involved in this, integrated in this community. Let me share two examples. And these are hard to see, so I apologize for that. Two of the facilities that we have been made significant investments in recently when it comes to recycling are located here in California. I want to talk about them briefly. The one on the right, you can't really make that out, and I apologize. It's with the city of Anaheim. That is my baby. I actually was the manager of Anaheim and our operations over there. We had 8 contract cities that we took care of with trash and recycling. But we built a big recycling plant over there, unlike anything else in the country. We made a $20 million investment in this facility. It's upgraded with the latest and greatest equipment. It's a phenomenal site to see. We do, like I said, 98%. We recover 98% of the recyclables there. And we are now expanding that into mixed waste processing, as well as we manage green waste there. We're starting to talk about organic waste, which I'm going to touch on a little bit. Organic waste is the next horizon. And the one on the left is the Newbie Island facility. That's located in the city of San Jose. The city of San Jose is one of those communities that's always prided itself as being the top recycler in the state. If you ever read some of the reports coming out of the Cal Recycle or the former Waste Board, they always talked about San Jose as the best recycling community in the state. The reason they were like that is because they have some crazy, crazy programs in it. Very expensive, but they do a good job with it. So the mayor came out and said, San Francisco's pretty good, we want to be better. So he said, we want to become a zero waste community. I don't know if you've heard that term before. Zero waste is something that's getting talked up quite a bit, but zero waste, for those of you who don't know what we're referring to, it doesn't mean that we're going to get rid of all trash and all waste. What it really means is that we're going to process everything. And we're going to do everything we can to reduce the amount of waste that goes into that landfill. If we could touch it, evaluate it, see if it makes sense to recover, recycle it economically, that's what we should do. Let me tell you about the evolving ton. This is something we use in our industry. The evolving ton was a term we used when we talked about, go back 30 years ago. Many of you remember back in the old days, we would pick up our trash at the curb, and all we worried about is getting in a landfill somewhere or a dump site somewhere as quick as we could. Some of you are smiling because you remember the old burn sites we used to have where they'd just put it in a hole and throw a match on it. Come a long way from that. That same ton of trash that we used to pick up and go and burn in a pit somewhere is now being looked at, studied. We actually do characterization studies. We pull the stuff apart and we look at what's in the trash. Not that we care what you're putting in there necessarily, but we want to know what has value. What can we do with those recyclables? The plastics, the metal, the paper, the cardboard. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about what can we do with organic waste. That's the next horizon. I'm involved in our legislative process in Sacramento. On behalf of our company, I represent the company up in Sacramento with our various lobbyists. Sacramento is passing laws upon laws upon laws to push us into a better recycling state. And that's all good. If you remember 8032, some of you have heard a lot about that, the greenhouse gas bill passed a number of years ago. That put California at the top of the world as far as pushing for cleaner air and removing those greenhouse gases from our businesses, from our cars, from our landfills. And while it was a very far-reaching bill and initiative, it's now being implemented in many places. And so what we're seeing now is the legislature is coming out with new laws and new bills that are aimed at implementing greenhouse gas bill, AB 32. And so you saw a couple years ago, AB 341, which was the commercial recycling bill. And that got a lot of press because what it said is that all of our commercial businesses have to have recycling. Now here, you guys do a really good job at that, but many other communities in California don't. So we now have commercial recycling. They also said in there that we want to set a goal for California to have 75% diversion. That means that we're going to try to move 75% of our waste away from landfills and do everything we can to divert it and move it away. And that's creating now more laws where they're starting to put pressure on us as businessmen, our commercial businesses, chemical factories, anybody who generates any greenhouse gases are falling under now regulations by California Air Resource Board, who has very strong powers to regulate factories, the automotive industry, and now even landfills. I know the city has a landfill, and the landfill gases that are generated at the landfills are highly regulated today. Frankly, I think more regulated than anywhere else in the country. And under AB 32, we're going to even get more regulation, more controls, more expenses just running our landfills. It's all good in the sense that we're removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. But the point in all this is that we are going to be doing more and more with our waste material. And organics is the next horizon. These laws that our legislators are writing are looking to ban food waste from landfills by 2020, starting in 2017. So you may say, well, what the heck? I put food in my trash can. Does that mean I can't do that anymore? Where it's going is we're going to start with restaurants. Large restaurants that have sit-down settings, generate a lot of food in the kitchens. They're going to be banned very soon here in the next couple of years. They're going to have some way to remove organics. We are working on those solutions. As Republic Services, we're investing in equipment. How do we process this stuff? We can't compost everything. Composting is great. I wish we could. But frankly, composting is one of those things that is done very well away from people. Any of you have done it, you know it can get a little odorous. It can be a little challenging in my backyard. But imagine collecting all of the food waste and green waste and organics from a community this size and try to manage it inside the city. It ain't going to happen. So we have to haul it longer distances. Or we have to come up with technological advanced ways of managing it right here. And there are some good ideas. And we have some ideas we really want to present to this city. Some ideas that we are using and testing and exploring in other communities. But you need to know these are expensive and they're risky. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Those two facilities I just mentioned, the one in San Jose, we met the challenge with the city of San Jose. They picked Republic Services to take them to zero waste. We said it's going to cost a lot of money, San Jose. So we had to make a big investment, over $40 million, in a recycling facility there. It's like none other. You walk in and there's lines going this way and that way and stuff's getting sorted and processed. It truly is a recycling factory. It's unlike anything else, but it is a very expensive system. But we've done it there. We've done it in Anaheim. We've made $75 million investment in just 2 facilities. If we want to be a zero waste community here, we're going to have to make a lot more investment. We've been a good community partner, as I mentioned. I've talked about the ways we've been personally involved, and Gus has been out there. Many of you know Gus has received the Ventura County Community Award for someone that's actively involved in the community. Many of you are really involved as well, so you know what I mean. And we wanted to demonstrate the fact that we're just not here to write checks or to make a lot of money at this facility. We really hope to be involved in this community and give back and be a good community partner. And I trust that we've done that. Green Team, I want to just briefly highlight that. Green Team is something that we were challenged with. Green waste is something that's difficult to manage. We were asked to come up with a solution for managing green waste in this community. And we did that. The problem with green waste is, unfortunately, a lot of people think green waste is like another garbage can. You can throw a lot of stuff in there, and it often comes in very contaminated. Add some paper, cardboard, plastic bags are a killer to try to grind up green waste and turn it into usable compost. Imagine green waste composted with a lot of plastic pieces in it. Do you want to put that on your garden? The answer is no. So Gus and his team reached out to the community, and we had a campaign to get out and educate people at all levels in this community. We did workshops. We did stuff through the media. We had social media activity going on, and Facebooking and stuff. And there was a lot of meetings and activity going on, and congratulations to all you, but we improved the quality of your green waste by 5%. That was significant. Okay, a lot of effort, a lot of involvement there, but it's when people can get together and work hard on these kinds of things, focus their attention, we can make a difference. Green Team has become a much wider, broader known name now. It's kind of one of those things that birthed right here in Oxnard, and people are doing a great job with it, and now other communities are saying, hey, we maybe should do that too. So we're real proud of some of the things we've accomplished here. This is a little brochure about the Green Team activity. You may have seen that on Facebook. We've had over 800,000 impressions with friends and folks. Some of the other activity we've done in the community, you can't see it real well on the left, but has anyone heard of or seen Murphy, our robot? Okay, a couple of you have. Murphy is a robot that the company bought. It's the coolest little thing. It marches right in. It can talk and have a dialogue with you about recycling. It's a very effective tool to take into schools and talk to kids and other organizations where Murphy starts having a Q&A about what kind of recycling are you doing and what kind of recycling am I doing. Very effective tool. We have that available to continue to educate the community with. Some of these are just places we've donated money to. I wanted to highlight this article on the right. It says PRLOG. You have had national attention with your waste service program here. Again, back to Green Team and some of the great things you guys have done actually got national attention and national news, so you've been out there. There's another one coming up here in a bit, I'll just flip to it. Girl Scouts. Many of you have children that have probably been in Girl Scouts, grandchildren. Girl Scouts here are making national news. They started with this merit program around recycling, something that was birthed right here in Oxnard with Republic Services help. We had a creative idea, so let's help our Girl Scouts learn about recycling, and in so doing, get another merit badge. So the Girl Scouts of America are cooperating with creating a new merit patch for our girls. When they do the right things as far as helping our community with recycling, they can earn that merit patch. That's something that is starting right here, and I trust in a very short time across the country, Girl Scouts will be trying to earn that badge. So again, well done, Oxnard. So we've talked a lot about this Earth Day we've been involved in, as many of you have seen. We are an environmental company committed to environmental programs and investing a lot of money in it, but it can only be done when we have the support of a community like yours. Let me go to why are we here tonight, what are we talking about. City Council, as you know, is faced with a challenge. They've got a great asset and they're trying to make the best value. They're trying to come up with solutions that can not only process and recycle the best we can, but they also want to do it in a way that's the most economical and ways that can create better value for the city. Now I will tell you the contract we acquired back in '99 was a contract that we paid a lot of money for. And so I'll admit to you, we are making money on this facility today, but we're also paying down a very large investment that we made many, many years ago. We're at that point today where we're ready to start making a kind of draw a line again and let's redesign, let's redraft this agreement, let's redraft our contract going forward. It's time to do that. That asset is beautiful, but it's old, it needs investment, it needs a lot of money put into it. But we can come up with some great ideas. We have some great ideas for the city that I think are very fitting for this community. And we want to move forward with it. The city fathers are looking for, obviously, someone who can operate this thing well and safely. And safety is such an important factor today when you've got heavy equipment and trucks moving around. Nobody wants to get hurt. The city fathers are looking for somebody that has the innovation, the experience to show us how to do this right. You don't want to make the wrong investment. A $40 million investment that doesn't work is a bad situation. And so you need someone that has some experience, that's tried these things, that knows what works, knows what will work here. Then lastly, I think the city's looking for more control over the facility, to know what's going on there, but more importantly, have better financial benefits. We have no problem letting the city be more involved with this thing and understand what our costs are so we can determine what would be a fair profit. We're living under an old contract, and it's flawed. It's got some issues. And it's really time to reset the bar and move forward with a new contract where the city is more involved, the city gets better benefits, and we have better technology, better investment to take us forward. City of Oxnard, as I said, has a goal of zero waste. City fathers have shared that they'd like to see Oxnard be a zero waste community. They've talked about the city of San Francisco as one community that is achieving 78% diversion from landfills. If you've been in San Francisco, you know it's an interesting city environmentally. The challenge there is they are doing that at a very high cost. Their rates are double what we are here in Oxnard today. So it can be done, but it's very expensive. And it's also being done there with a private partner that the city of San Francisco hired. Zero waste may make sense here. but it's going to be a challenge. And I'm not here to say we should not look at zero waste. We can. But there's orders of magnitude. There's significant economic considerations and factors that need to be taken into place. Republic Services is a good company to do that. We really have the experience and the know-how to guide the city into this next decade, this next couple of decades. We can come up with some very good environmental, responsible solutions that are affordable as well. And we're looking forward to hopefully having that opportunity. So why is this such a big deal for the City Council? Why is this a big decision? I will tell you that the biggest thing that they have to consider here is the risk. As I've tried to explain, the industry that we are in is changing significantly. From 10 years ago, it's completely different. And we now are into this, again, highly technological arena, large investment, and I can tell you this too, that the waste industry is changing. There's consolidation that's taking place. We may rely on a certain amount of business today, so many tons that are coming in, and we're looking at the economics of all those tons, and we're saying, okay, this works. And tomorrow, company X gets bought out, and those tons disappear. Oh my gosh, now what do I do? It's a changing world, and there's a lot of risk in this. And it's something that the city, I'm going to encourage, be very careful how you proceed. We want to help you with this. The technological risk is there, the financial risk is there. We are watching communities around the country who have gone through, like you have, a very tough economic time. The last 5 and 6 years have been very challenging for all of us. And cities in particular, they've had to cut back services to try to maintain some kind of a balanced budget. They've had to reduce services, close libraries. I've seen it all over cities that we've worked with. Many of them are just recovering from that. And thankfully, we're seeing some lift in the economy a little bit. But I will tell you, it's not real strong. But there's some lift there. And many cities are finding this is not the best time to invest in these kinds of things. In fact, many cities are saying it's time to get out of the solid waste business. It's a very capital-intensive business. Okay? Employees, labor laws in California are extraordinary. Our attorneys told us this is a state they wish we didn't have to do business in because of the labor laws. It's not that we're against labor, it's just that the cost of an accident, the cost of someone getting hurt is extraordinary. And so there are high risks in this, not only technologically, but financial risks. We want to help the city understand those risks and concerns and guide them through this next stage. What should the city focus its attention on? They have so many things on their list. We know that. Many cities are focusing on public safety and on city streets. Again, trying to recover from an economic downturn and hopefully get things back on track before they take on this big investment. One other caution for the city of Oxnard, since we have the mayor here, is that the landfill that you have and own, we are experts in running landfills. We have over 200 landfills, and we're spending $1 gazillion on our gas systems. And we know that that's a very expensive future liability. We'd love to help you with that, to manage your landfill gas liability, and hopefully keep you from having to have that big liability over here and taking on another one, because we really do want to manage the risk for you in this recycling plant and be a partner with you. So what are we recommending? I get to close here shortly. We are asking the City Council to take some more time, to take some time to understand the risks that you are facing by taking over this facility. We want you to get better educated. We want to take you out and have you meet folks in San Jose, meet folks in Anaheim. Go to some of these other communities that are getting out of this business and developing contracts with companies like us to manage those risks. I want the city to stay involved. I want the city to have great control over this. I want them to know and feel comfortable about what's getting done there recycling-wise and hold us accountable. I want them to feel good about what they're paying us and not feel like we're ripping the city off. Okay? But the city should hire someone like us to manage those risky components, the big investment in the recycling and the equipment and the technology. We have that experience. We can guide you through that. I want you to help you determine, I want to mention, I want to see us set up a citizens advisory committee. A group of people in the community that are appointed by the mayor and the council to regularly meet and look at what we're doing and help us develop better ideas and technology and frankly work on communication and education. It only works when we have education going on. I'll get to your question in just a second. And then lastly here, I just want to encourage the city to then, once we know what we want to do with this asset, let's sit down and let's redefine a contract that you can get comfortable with. that protects the city, gives you more control, gives you something to be proud of as far as recycling and being a sustainable, environmentally friendly facility. And then also that draws more resources off that facility to help the city in its general fund and some of its other investments and core services that the city is responsible to take care of. That's what we're recommending. I hope we'll have the opportunity to sit down with the mayor and the council members to explore this further. We are passionate about it. I've been in this business 30 years. I've seen where this is going. I want to be able to help the city if we can. Questions? This gentleman had his hand up first, or maybe I'll let you, Francine.
Question and answer, so we can give our mayor a few minutes to speak. So, go ahead.
Okay. You said it is about a $40 million outlay that we need to spend to upgrade the roof out here. Is that money you're going to put out?
I say 40 million, it could be 40 million. It depends how far the city wants to go with zero waste and how much recycling we want to do. The answer to your question is yes. We are proposing to lay out capital to upgrade this facility for an extended contract. It needs to be done. Someone's going to have to spend that money, and we are experts at doing that kind of thing.
Okay, my question is about the mayor. If the contract is not renewed, is Oxnard capable of paying for the new equipment? Because like you said, it's really old, outdated, and the other side of the question is, does Oxnard have the capabilities of
yeah. Terry?
You've been there 15 years. How much investment have you put in the facility itself,
Was it Bill or Terry?
Terry.
Terry.
Bill.
Terry. The gentleman back there asked how much investment have we put in the facility. We put some investment in the facility.
How much?
Gus, maybe you know the answer to that.
Yeah, basically, when we took on the Greenways contract,
I mean, over 15 years, how much improvement have you made in the facility?
improvement, we have given back City of Oxnard $655,000 since 2003. So you add the $655,000.
I'll tell you, let me take a shot at it. Terry, we've made a little bit of investment in there, but let me tell you this. The contract, the facility is owned by the city and the equipment is the city. So we've been given the task of operating what the city has put in there. When the equipment got old, we did go to the city and say, this equipment needs to be replaced. Frankly, the city was unwilling to replace the equipment and upgrade it. So there was a point in time where we have had to come in and put our equipment in there, which was not part of our contract. But we did that to keep this facility going, to make sure that it met the requirements for diversion that the city is obligated to contribute to statewide. So it's not that we were unwilling. In fact, we came to the city, I'm told, 3 times over the last 10 years to suggest, let's redo this contract. It needs investment. It needs a new contract. And the city fathers weren't interested at that time in doing that.
We'll get the exact number for you, Bill. I'll ask you to get it, and Barbara.
Yeah, would you be willing to open your books in terms of the whole, you know, what, because to me, I mean, I just, you know, you give this great presentation and all, but, and then every other word is, you know, all your equipment is run down. And to me, if you got a long-term contract for something, then there is some proprietorship to update equipment. I mean, that's part of the ball game. It's not just come in, rip it all off, and then say, oh, well, it's old. So I think, I mean, for my comfort level, if we had an open books to see exactly, okay, what was being put in, what was going out, how much profit was there, that, you know, because it's a nice sales pitch, but I don't think a sales pitch is going to cut it in terms of where we've come, you know. And I mean, if you're really going to say, well, you want the city council to really look at this, then I think you've got to be upfront and open over the period of the contract. Because, you know, we have some ideas in terms of what's come out, but we don't see what went in. And I think in any contract, there's, you know, it's a duty of good faith and fair dealing in it. And it is, you know, I don't know what kind of an offer you made to the city in terms of, well, to say you need your equipment replaced and it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. That's one thing. To say that, you know, if it was put up that way, obviously you're going to get a no. If it was something else, then maybe it'd be something to consider. But I think
if you really want to get the buy-in of this community, at least me, the books have got to be open in terms of, what's been made, what's been the profit, what's been the expenses and all of that.
I couldn't agree more.
Just be straight up.
We have to be more transparent than has been in the past.
Yeah.
And one of the things why I suggested a citizens advisory committee is because we really do need to have some better oversight on what's going on in the facility, what's the cost, what's it cost to add all this new recycling, go to zero waste. There's people that are very good at understanding this and can help guide the city and us in this, and yes, we will be transparent about that.
Well, I'm not talking about will. I'm saying, we're talking about from 1999 forward, that's a good chunk of years. So what has been the productivity of that facility? How much has it cost to run it? How much have been the profits? How much have you made from the recycling? All of that kind of stuff, so we can
You have this card
see.
here, so everyone can get one, and you guys can email or call him.
Well, I asked an honest question. I mean, if you want to talk to the city, I think that's the kind of information you got to give the city.
Well, let me say.
That's my opinion.
And we're happy to do that. We really are. This is a publicly owned facility. We have the privilege of operating this. And yes, we bought a contract back in '99. It was very expensive, and it's taken us a while to pay it off. That's not your problem. That's our problem. Okay? We want to have a contract going forward where this city understands what it costs to operate it and what's a fair profit, and we want you to have more control over it than you've had in the past. There's a hand up back here, Francine, too.
Mine, just real quick, where do you process your green waste and where do you take it?
Gus can help you with this, but I know we process it on site. We take it over lines. We have to get those plastic bags and clean it up. And then the material's hauled over to, I think, the facility in Ventura where it's kind of...
We take it to the fines material, we take it to Fillmore and the green overs as we invested the trommel, about $200,000 investment that we put in to process the green waste also. That goes to Agriman in Santa Paula. It does not go to the Agriman in Point Wayne, it goes to Santa Paula. The other benefit of this green waste that we put in, Food Share of Ventura County, gets $2 per ton in outbound green waste. So that's an average of $3,000 per month since August 1st of last year. So the hunger in our local community in Oxnard is benefiting from this green waste that we were awarded back in August 1st of last year. So there is a benefit to the community locally. So lie into that.
Last question.
I just wanted to ask, has the city of Oxnard recouped its investment in that facility?
I don't know the answer to that. But they did make the initial investment in all that equipment, in the building and whatnot, and I don't know if it was funded via bonds and they paid those off. I don't know. That's something for the city to do. That was not our obligation to pay that off.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And let's bring him in.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tim Flynn. I'm the mayor of the city of Oxnard. And before I begin, I have two of my distinguished colleagues here. Mayor Pro Tem Carmen Ramirez. Let's give her a round of applause. And to the right of me here, Councilman Perrello.
This is a public meeting, we're not violating the Brown Act.
Right.
In case anybody wants to.
Just don't sit next to each other.
There's no collusion over the Republic contract here, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. I'm glad to have this opportunity this evening to present what I believe is the city view on the city takeover, the public takeover of a publicly owned facility. And it's important to point out this evening that since day one, from the very start that this facility was built, it was built and financed by taxpayer money. It was built and financed by the city of Oxnard, not by a private contractor who got the contract to build it. We'll talk about that in a second. But the taxpayers and the ratepayers own this facility. This is our facility. It's not Republic's facility. It's not BLT's facility. All right? It's the public's facility. So that's number one. Number two, before I got into teaching, I was a salesman. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've even been a used car salesman. And Republic Industries, okay, is not a bad company. Republic Industries, ladies and gentlemen, is not the issue here. It's not about Republic. It's not about BLT Industries. It's not about Waste Management or anyone else. It's about the people of the city of Oxnard and what they own and the money that has been wasted, upwards to $40 to $50 million from the inception of this facility, has been wasted on consultants, on business deals that were the subject of the DA investigation. And when the DA concluded, ladies and gentlemen, that money was misappropriated at high levels of the city of Oxnard, the most egregious of all of these misappropriations was over this very facility that we're talking about this evening. One man and his company profited by $25 million by being allowed to sell his contract as if it were a commodity on the open market. He sold a publicly owned facility. He traded it like the way oil companies trade for gasoline, and we wonder why sometimes gasoline prices go up. Because it is traded on the open market. This was allowed to be traded when the original contract forbade it being traded and being sold. And Republic, fortunately and unfortunately, because they made a significant amount of money, they were the ones who bought it and paid Mr. Huberman $25 million over a lengthy period. $300,000 a month. And I've had BLT Industries and a series of people say, oh, how do you know this, and how do you know this, and how do you know that? Well, you prove it's not right or wrong. You disprove that this transaction did not take place. So this is about the ratepayers. It's about the taxpayers. It's not about these gentlemen in this room. And I do not have an adversarial relationship. I'm expecting these guys to buy, all of us pizza and beer after this. I'm just kidding. I do not have an adversarial relationship with either one of these gentlemen nor their company. All right. I do have some qualms about BLT Enterprises, and I have some qualms about the fact that I think that one of the greatest, this is my opinion, one of the greatest heists, if not the greatest heist in the history of Oxnard, happened over this facility. Okay? And the bottom line is that the city council had the courage, and the two council members in this room, 3 to make a majority, we had the courage to make that decision now when we were told by a consultant that was ready to give this contract back to the man who took the $25 million, that we were not ready to do it, and it would take 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America defeated its enemies in World War I and World War II in a 6-year combined period, and that's what we were told it was going to take. We're not ready for 6 years to take over this facility. 6 years. What the dickens is about 6 years? So, I'm not excited about this. I'm not excited about it. Let me get into the nitty-gritty. The city council decided several weeks ago, or just before we went into recess, that we, the city, will take over this facility. I appreciate Jim's offer and his presentation here this evening. He did a good job. Gus does a great job. This company does a lot of great things for this community. They're not a bad company, and these are not bad individuals. And we don't have an adversarial relationship. But getting to the public and what's in the public interest is the decision that we made. And we made that decision with knowing that there's risk involved, based not on fiction, not on hearsay, based on fact. Based on fact, and I'll pass this out in a second. Okay? We know that this contract is not only the most lucrative contract in the city, but we know that as far back as 2004, that Republic Industries was willing to reduce its current contract, which is close to $7 million, by $2.3 million. $2.3 million, they were ready to reduce it. The city, unfortunately, held out, thought it could get $3 million off the deal, not 2.3. And it blew the whole deal, and the city got substantially less. So even in the last 10 years, we lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 to $18 million. I'll pass this out in a second. Okay, we're not talking about chump change. We're not talking about 150 grand. We're not talking about 1.5 million. We're talking about 15 and $20 million. And the reason why Republic Industries and other companies want this contract is because that's how much money is involved in this contract. Okay, it's a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with them seeking this contract. I would expect if I were the area representative and I were the one running the MRF, that I would be out there just like they are today, saying to you why my company deserves another crack at it. This isn't about their company. It's not about any other company. It's about the best interest of the people of the city of Oxnard. Okay? So with that said, let me just give you a few things here, and I'll pass this out so you can take a look at it. The city hired a consultant, and we've hired oftentimes many consultants. And some of those consultants have given us good advice, and as we know, some of those consultants have given us bad advice. And the consultant, as I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago, said that the city should take over the facility. No problem. But it's just not ready. So even the consultant that the city paid to advise us on whether or not the city should take over the facility said it's not a bad thing that the city take over the facility. Okay? But the city should wait. Why do I think the consultant said the city should wait? Well, I don't know, really, all the answers. I know one thing, that the consultant was being paid by the city about $80,000 to manage the process of the companies competing for the contract. And if that contract, that process stopped, the money being paid to the consultant would stop. So, I mean, come on, this is like Big League Dreams being paid $2 million to tell us that they should be the one to run College Park. We did that. The city council paid Big League Dreams close to $2 million, and their conclusion, we should be the one that should run your facility. No conflict of interest there, ladies and gentlemen. We, as members of the council, were privy to a lot of information. This is a document, however, that the current council was not privy to. I was a long time ago. It has surfaced, and I want to pass this out. And it's a letter from Republic Industries to former city manager Edwin Sotelo. This letter was an offer. If we could just pass those. This letter was an offer, and I want to read it to you. If we just pass those down. I just need one. If you pass it. And let me go ahead, as it's being passed out, let me read this letter to you, because I know that you don't have all night, and you want to get home, and you want to get the nitty-gritty. This letter is dated February 5th, 2004. It's from Republic to Edwin Sotelo. Let me read it for you. Dear Mr. Sotelo, when we last met with you and your staff, the city proposed the following changes to the current agreement for the management and operation of the Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. 1. Within 15 days after both parties have signed the Third Amendment to our operating agreement, Republic Services Incorporated will pay the city of Oxnard a sum of $1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, they're a for-profit business. They're not a non-profit. If they have $1 million to pay the city, this is on top, this is the new negotiations, right? There's money in the contract. There's a lot of money in that contract. There's a lot of money being left on the table. Let me go further. Number 2. Effective with the first monthly invoice following the signing of the Third Amendment, Republic Services Incorporated will reduce every monthly invoice during the new term of the agreement by the sum of $191,000 every month, which equates to $2.3 million annually. Ladies and gentlemen, a company like Republic that is the second largest operator in the United States, behind waste management is not going to give the city $2.3 million and lose money on this deal. And at this time, they were still paying off Mr. Huberman of BLT Industries what I believe was $300,000 a month. They recently finished those payments to Mr. Huberman. All right? And the bottom line is that the city, right when I was elected as a council member, shortly after this letter was presented, hired a man by the name of Don Smith. He came from the private sector. He wasn't a public employee, he was from the private sector. And Don Smith came in, and Don Smith told me, I said, something's not right with this contract. And I had heard all kinds of things about people taking jet trips down to Baja and, you know, all these guys fishing off of boats and all this kind of stuff, but I didn't know any of the details. I just heard about that. So I said, hey, Don, do you know anything about this? Yeah, I'm kind of hearing bits and pieces and everything else. But I'll tell you one thing, we're overpaying on that contract by $3 million. That's what Don Smith told me. And eventually he told the rest of the council by $3 million. All right? He said, this contract is overinflated. And I said, and at the time, I didn't know exactly what Republic paid Mr. Huberman to take over this contract. But I later learned it was approximately $25 million. Again, that's my opinion. I can't show that because I don't have the documents to show that. Okay? But it's my understanding it was $25 million. Right? $300,000 a month. So this here alone, this document is not fabricated. Okay? It's a real document. And this is 10 years ago. This is how much money. You know, even though trash has shrunk because of the recession, many of you might know that trash to landfills is down like 20, 25, 30% because of the recession. It's probably the only positive thing about the recession. We consume less and there's less trash going to the landfill. Now let me talk very quickly about the city taking over the facility. We own the facility. We bought all the equipment on the facility. Republic's investment, and it might not be exclusively confined to this, but the major investment that they made, and it was a recent investment, was to renovate a bathroom. And they did that, all right? That was negotiated by Gus's predecessor, Stephen McIntosh. Maybe Jim was involved in it, I don't know, but that was the investment. The city bought the equipment. The bond on that equipment is due to expire in a year. It's $2.5 million a year. Right now, the Public Works Department believes that the city is going to save $2 million a year on this contract by taking it over. And with the $2.5 million of the bond expiring, we'll have the capacity, the debt capacity, to purchase between $50 and $60 million in new, sophisticated equipment to sort this trash. Now, some of you might know this, some of you might not, because it's confusing. The city picks up the trash and hauls the trash. Okay? And we have a large department of recycling experts and all this type of thing. The MRF, where the trash is processed, is done by Republic Industries right now. Okay? When we take over the facility just after January, it means that the city will pick up the trash, haul the trash, and process the trash. The council members and I have a goal, and that is to go in the direction of zero waste. And by purchasing this equipment, having the capacity, it doesn't mean we're going to spend $50 million. It means we have the capacity to do it. We have a lot next door to the MRF. That lot could, in the future, be used for a variety of things. And when I first was elected to the council in 2004, the idea that was being floated is that we were going to take our biosolids and we were going to begin processing biosolids there. Now, a lot of people say, biosolids, why would you process your own biosolids when you're going to ship them off to Bakersfield, off to Kern County? By the way, I think most of you know what biosolids, they come from the toilet, right? The sewage. And then that's all treated and everything, and then it has to be disposed of. Well, Kern County State Senator got really smart and said, we don't want other communities dumping their biosolid, their trash, literally they're KRAP, in our community. And so the Oxnard then had to sell that property off, and now our biosolids go to the Toland landfill and they're processed there. Jim had talked about the fact that the state of California is moving aggressively in the direction of zero waste. And our goal in the city is to do exactly that. But ladies and gentlemen, the private sector has operated this facility from its inception. The public sector has not operated this facility. We do have a decent diversion rate, right? 85 of all the tonnage that goes in, 85% of it goes back out. And it's that throughput, that we'll call it, is where is really the future gold mine. In fact, landfills now today, and in the future, are potentially going to be unearthed so people can harvest all the discarded trash. We have people now in the city of Oxnard, and we intend on hiring people that will work for the city of Oxnard, that will be experts in processing all of this trash, all of the food waste, biomass, creating biofuels, all of these things. And Jim is absolutely correct. This is not without risk. If it's not managed properly, it can be botched. If there's going to be a $2 million savings, we know whether it's the private sector or the public sector, and many people would say the public sector will do this before the private sector. Okay? That $2 million can vanish just like that. Okay? If $25 million vanished with one transaction, certainly $2 million could vanish in the drop of a hat. And that's why the Public Works Department is carefully planning and meticulously planning. And in 2003, before this letter came out, the city paid for a consultant to advise the city on the takeover of the facility. At that time, it said the city could save well over $1 million. So we've already had the studies done. So when people say to us, Mr. Flynn, why would you kind of start this whole bidding process and everything else? Well, you know what? The man that was in charge of the bidding process was the man who presided over the awarding of the contract. I'm going to say the last thing here. Mr. Huberman, just before the DA case broke, was that close to being awarded the contract again. And that consultant that was advising us was the one who presided over the process that BLT was going to get the contract back again. So not only did he build it and get paid to build it, not only did he get paid to operate it for several years, not only did he get paid the $25 million to sell it to Republic Industries, he was right back at the trough, ready to assume it again, and the consultant that facilitated that was the one advising the city. Okay? All right. So the fact of the matter is that enough is enough. Okay? We are going to take over that facility.
Yes.
I appreciate Jim's offer. I appreciate Gus. Gus works very hard in the community. This is not about Gus, and it's not about Jim, and it's not about Republic. It's about the people of the city of Oxnard. Thank you.
Okay. So, by the city of Oxnard saving all this money, our waste bills are going to go down. Is that right?
The goal would be for our, when you get a utility bill.
Right.
Okay, mine is about $140 a month. Okay, a portion of that utility bill is exclusively for trash.
Right.
Okay, the goal will be to either reduce that, keep it where it is, or not allow, in all communities around us, okay, those bills are going up. We talked about San Francisco's paying significantly more, but again, they make the choice of going towards zero waste, and so they're paying a much higher price for that, right? San Francisco is a very progressive city, understated to say. So the issue about rates is a very good one, but as it has been said, the city right now, all right, needs to reinvest. We don't know exactly how much equipment we need to reinvest. That's being assessed currently, okay? And that's why we have a transition plan until after January, and then gradually the employees will be city employees. We haven't figured out exactly how many people are going to do that, all right, and how many city employees are going to be on the payroll, how that's all going to be worked out. But the goal is to lower rates, but there's much more to rates than just the processing of the trash. It's the landfill costs that we're also currently negotiating with. So right now, the city takes the majority of its trash to Simi Valley. A small portion of its trash, about 20%, goes to the Toland landfill, right? And right now, the city's in the middle of the negotiations over all of that. So that is incorporated into that rate. So the rate is far more than just processing the trash and the MRF. But if the city claims, in the Public Works Department now, that we can be saving approximately $2 million a year, you know, it's going to take sizable investments in the beginning. You know, you can't take a somewhat dilapidated facility that's been used up after 15 years, okay, and expect that overnight, that without investment, okay, it's just going to be, you know, a lot of that equipment has to be replaced. People know that. And that's why the city has to be cautious about exactly how many people the city hires, because the technology, the new technology, see, one of the major points about why you always go with a consultant, you go with the private sector, they know best about technology. They're on the cutting edge of technology. They're on this, they're on that. Ladies and gentlemen, they've been in charge since the inception of the facility. Where's the technology? We have the same, I've said that a Boy Scout troop could operate that facility. And I'm not, no disrespect to Gus, it's a hard job that he has, a very hard job, and it is complicated, and it's potentially dangerous. But if you've ever, I mean, I'll invite you guys, we'll take you on a tour of the facility. I'll do it, I'll lead it, okay? It's unbelievable. When I went in there and figured out the idea that Mr. Huberman came up with and presented to the then city council in the late 1990s and made off with that kind of money, I'm telling you, I was dumbfounded. I'm still dumbfounded. It is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's a conveyor belt. And you have trash that's already sorted in containers, and all the trash that goes into the regular containers is a conveyor belt. And you have people with these protective gloves, and they're very well trained and very well skilled, and they work hard, those people, okay? And they pick out the recyclables.
So why do we need the new equipment then? If
Well-
people are doing it, I have the Boy Scouts to do it.
Well, what I'm saying is that this isn't rocket science. Now, the new technology, the investments in the new technology will make the operation more efficient. So the goal might be to, obviously, and I'm implying this, but I'm not the technological expert. I'm on the city council, and that's why we have Dan Ryberg over here and other people from the Public Works Department. Okay, the bottom line is that the technology, increasingly, and the investment in that technology will lead us to the cutting edge of going towards zero waste. And how about energy conversion, right? Biomass, taking these things and converting energy. How about running our trash trucks off the energy that we, you know, there's all that idealistic stuff, and a lot of it is not only possible, but it's being done around the country. But it does take sizable investments, and there is a risk involved. And let me say one thing, because the city is taking over this facility, does it mean that the city, in perpetuity, will never consider another consultant or a private sector to run that facility again?
Well, maybe, can I just say one more thing? Maybe Republic, if they had a contract, would be willing to buy that equipment. What would the city of Oxnard say about that?
Well, the issue here is this. The issue is, it's not about Republic or any other entity being willing to buy something. I understand that when you have to understand there's a return on the investment. And no matter what anybody invests, it has to be back in the return. What I'm saying is, the city makes that investment, okay, and we're the ones that get the return.
Do we have the money to do that?
You got finished saying that we have a $2.5 million bond on the existing equipment. It's going to expire within a year.
Right.
With the savings that's anticipated, along with the $2.5 million, we have the capacity, according to Public Works, to invest in $50 million of equipment. Yes, sir.
You talk about the savings in the offloading of the trash, taking it to the other facility. But what about all the recyclables we're going to get and all the potential methane and electric power?
Let me address what Jim said about recyclables. He's correct when he says that the recyclables market is highly volatile. He's right when he says that China, there's all kinds of things with supply and demand. At one point, there was also a glut in the marketplace of recyclables, and that's why recyclable prices went way down. And unfortunately, people kind of stopped recycling because people weren't really getting anything for it. You know, because, I mean, I remember when everybody was going, 5 cents a can, do you remember that when you read it on the can? 5 cents for that can. Everybody was gleefully, you know, people had can smashers and everything else. And I think one of the reasons people went away from that, okay, is because there was at some point there was a glut in the marketplace, there was too much, supply and demand was all out of whack, and people weren't getting that kind of money any longer, and there was no longer the incentive to do so. But because the market is highly volatile, the city might decide as part of its operation in the first year or two to actually hire a contractor that will make a bid just on the recyclables. So let them take the risk, and we get a guaranteed return.
Last question, Tim over there.
I have one question in terms of because of this, I mean, this isn't just something.
Get called on, Barbara. She's
Yeah.
supposed to pick.
I thought he just did it, Tim
No.
just,
I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, I was responding to Tim.
Tim, question, and I was thinking about it over there, because you had said you had not been able to see and everything at any point. Why not pull the SEC records and see what they were doing? And find out what was going on?
When the consultant that was managing the RFP process recently came to the council and tried to talk the council out of assuming, taking over the facility, he could talk, remember how Barbara was talking about all this proprietary information, right? It's, you know, they're a private business. They can't release, they're not, and this is part of the problem with public-private partnerships, is once they've negotiated a deal, they're not gonna tell you how much money they're making. I mean, you know, it's part of their, it's a private business. They have a right not to tell us. It's a private business. It's not a publicly held, you know, thing where they have to disclose everything about what they're making.
That's what they do to their shareholders.
I understand that, but they're talking about profit. The shareholders don't know about, they don't know about the individual things. By the way, the city gets a report every single month, I recently learned, every single month on exactly those figures. And by the way, they've never been shared with anyone, including me.
So he'll be here, you can ask your questions to the 38